There is a specific type of adult who never truly had a childhood. You know them by their hyper-responsibility, their inability to relax, and their haunting need to fix everyone around them. In psychology, this is called parentification. It is a functional boundary distortion where the roles are reversed. The child becomes the emotional or physical caretaker of the parent. While other children were learning how to play, you were learning how to manage your mother's depression. While they were learning to take risks, you were learning how to navigate your father's temper. You weren't a child. You were a small, unpaid therapist and domestic manager. You didn't grow up. You were recruited into a war you weren't equipped to fight. Using Daniel Kahneman's framework in Thinking, Fast and Slow, we can see that parentification hijacks the brain's System 1. Because your environment was unpredictable, your fast-thinking brain became permanently tuned to threat detection. You became an expert at reading micro-expressions. You could tell by the sound of the front door opening exactly what kind of night it was going to be. This created a cognitive ease with crisis. As an adult, you don't feel safe unless there is a problem to solve. Peace feels like the quiet before the storm. You are biologically addicted to being needed because, in your childhood, being useful was the only way to be safe. Jordan Peterson, in 12 Rules for Life, discusses the biological necessity of hierarchy and order. But in a parentified home, order is a lie. Rule 2 tells us to treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. But the parentified child was taught that their own needs were a burden to the fragile parent. You learned that to stand up straight meant to carry the weight of the family. This created a shadow self, Jung, a suppressed part of you that is deeply resentful of the care you give. You are the nice person who is secretly exhausted by everyone's incompetence. You stay at the bottom of the hierarchy of your own life, serving others to avoid the guilt of existing for yourself. James Clear's Atomic Habits teaches us that the strongest force in human behavior is identity. Your habit loop was formed early. 1. Cue, a parent's distress. 2. Craving, a need for stability. 3. Response, you fixing the problem. 4. Reward, a temporary moment of peace. This loop forged an identity. I am the one who handles things. As an adult, you find it impossible to ask for help because needing help contradicts who you believe you are. You attract partners who are projects because you don't know how to relate to someone who is actually stable. You aren't in love, you are in a role. The tragedy of the child who had to be the parent is the loss of the will to play. But as Tony Robbins writes in Awaken the Giant Within, your past is not your destiny. Healing begins when you realize that your hyper-responsibility is not a personality trait. It is a survival mechanism. You're allowed to be incompetent. You're allowed to be useless. You're allowed to lay down the keys. The first step to reclaiming your life is giving your inner child the one thing they never had, a guardian who doesn't need them to do anything. If you spent your childhood fixing others and now feel exhausted by the weight of the world, hit the like button. Drop a comment. What was the first adult responsibility you remember carrying? Let's share the burden in the comments. Subscribe for more deep dives into the soul. Thanks for watching.